You are listening to episode number 79 of the Everything Ham Radio podcast. Today we're going to be talking about, stuff. I kind of dropped the ball this week, y'all. Sorry about that. So stick around and find out what I am going to be talking about. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Everything Ham Radio podcast. My name is Curtis, my call sign is Kilo 5 Charlie Lima Mike, and I am your host for this podcast. This podcast comes out every Thursday morning. Normally, or at least over the past, 2-3 months or so, I've had an interview. Well, this week I kind of dropped the ball. I started a new schedule at work, and I thought it was going to be a whole lot nicer to get stuff recorded because I can actually do stuff on weekends, and so far it's worked out pretty good. Unfortunately, this week kind of snuck up on me and I didn't have an interview scheduled. So I put out some feelers and tried to get a couple of people to interview. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So yesterday and today I've come in scrambling on some stuff to talk about in this episode. But I think I figured out some stuff, and I hope that y'all enjoy it. If you don't want to listen to this episode, I totally understand. But I hope to have at least some interesting information for y'all in this one. Even though it's just me talking, here it is back. Like rewind 2 or 3 months, and I'm just the talking head again. But anyways, there is some additional information in the show notes that you can find at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/79. That's the number 79. So, like I said, we're talking about some stuff. So, what kind of stuff, you ask? Well, before we get into that, I kind of dropped the ball a little bit. I've been doing. I did it on Facebook. I've put this stuff up on Facebook, but I've failed to mention it in the podcast over the past, month or so. So shame on me. I'm going to try and get back to it. So, and that's the question of the week. I had a question of the week. I started it up, I did it for about a month or so, and then I totally forgot about it on the podcast until after it was too late, and I didn't want to go back and totally re-record the episode. So I'm going to try and do better on that. So the question for this week, for this episode is, what is your favorite digital mode? Now that kind of gives a preface on what part of this episode is going to be about, and that's digital voice. So we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But if you would, go to Facebook, go to the group, facebook.com/groups/Everything Ham Radio, and you will see a poll that I'm going to be putting up on there when this goes live. And select your choice and tell me why. Tell me why you like them. Why you like that digital mode. If you like more than one of them, then I think you can select more than one. I'm not sure, but if you can't, just select whichever one is your favorite or you use the most of, and leave a comment telling me why you like that or why you like multiple ones. If you like multiple. So that's one thing, okay? That's the one thing. If you don't like Facebook, though, please go to the show notes and leave a comment there to, kind of get some conversation going here. So I greatly appreciate that, and I like to converse with y'all. I don't get a whole lot of it, unfortunately, but I would like to change that. So if any of y'all have a question that you want answered in a future podcast, please leave it on Facebook or shoot me an email. My email address is k5clm@everythinghamradio.com. Shoot me an email and I'll try and answer it or include it in a future podcast for everybody. Well, I'll probably do that anyways, but that's one thing I would like. I would really like y'all's input, and I would really like some some future episodes to be about y'all, right? That's why I'm here. But anyways, so while we're on that topic, though, I kind of want to put this out here for y'all. If any of y'all out there have a topic that you're knowledgeable in, and you would like to come on the show and talk to me about it and teach me about it, and at the same time at the same time teach everybody that's listening about it, please shoot me an email as well. Things I have in the works that I'm looking for people to do an interview on, stuff like JT65, amateur satellite, WinLink, amateur television, high altitude balloons, satellite work, the ISS, Earth, Moon, Earth, the EME type things. If any of this sounds like something that you would like to come on and talk to me about and teach me about, as well as all the rest of y'all, please shoot me an email and tell me when you can do it. My schedule is kind of really whack. I typically would record on like a Monday night or Tuesday night. Well, now I work 12-hour shifts, and one weekend I'm off, the next weekend I work. So one week I'll do recordings on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next week it'll be like Monday or Tuesday. And right now it just happens to be Monday. So if any of y'all would like to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. I would love to have y'all on. I would love to hear some feedback from y'all, and be y'all, y'all as my listeners have some input into what goes on in this podcast. Because like I said, after all, it is for you. And even though it is for me too, I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy learning about stuff in this hobby. And, this is basically what I do in this hobby. I don't do a whole lot of on the radio work. I don't do a whole lot of HF work. And that was mainly because I didn't have a station set up. Well, I kind of have a station set up now. I have a my dual band radio, my Kenwood TM733. I have an old one of those, like the very first one I bought like 20 years ago or so. It's sitting here, and it's hooked to an antenna. I don't know how well it works, because unfortunately I don't have an SWR meter. But I have that. And then I also have a ICOM IC730 as my HF rig. And I've got it hooked up to a Pactina Mini tuned to 20 meters. So presumably the antenna, because I cut it the way it's supposed to, hopefully it's pretty well tuned for 20 meters. But I think after 3 years or so of my radios being in a box, it doesn't work really well anymore. So all I hear is noise. So whether it's the radio and there's something wrong with it, or whether it's because I have high transmission power lines running through my property, even though they're a good 250 feet away or so from the antenna. I don't know what it is, but I'm working on that. So hopefully I will get back up in the air, because I really want to try PSK31. If you listen back a few episodes ago where I talked to Ian Kahn about PSK31, it really, really piqued my interest. It's something that I really want to try, and I really wish I could get this thing online. So I am working on that. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it that I want to say before we get started. Actually, no, that's not. I have one more thing. Some really awesome news here, y'all. I know that y'all heard of me talk about being a foster parent and that we're adopting our kids that we have now. Well, we are on the homeward stretch. As of the time that this recording goes live on Thursday, we will have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll have 3 full days until we actually go to court, go before the judge, and the judge bangs the gavel and says, "Congratulations, they're yours." Or you're stuck with them, whatever the judge is going to say. But this coming Monday morning, July 31st at about 8:15 in the morning, if you pray at all, please pray for my family, that everything goes good over the next week, and we get all the stuff done that we need to do that's left, that's basically out of our hands. But come Monday morning, I'm going to have 4 kids that have my last name, and they range from my youngest son just turned 1 this past Wednesday, and I have a 2-year-old daughter that's fixing to be 3, a 3-year-old daughter that's fixing to be 4, and a 13-year-old daughter. So I'm really out-daughtered here. I have one boy, so it's me and him, and the rest is all girls. So I'm really excited, and by the time the next episode comes out, I'm going to be a dad of officially, legally, mentally, and all that, a dad of 4 beautiful kids. So next week is going to be interesting. The only thing is, I'm not sure how well or how easily I'm going to have an episode recorded. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to. But if for whatever reason I don't have an episode next week, y'all, please forgive me. We're doing, like I said, we're doing the adoption on Monday, and for the next 7 days or so, I'm off work. And we're going to be doing stuff as a family. We got going to the aquarium, going to water park, we're going to the zoo. There's several things. Pretty much every day is filled to capacity. So please forgive me if I don't get an episode out next week. I am going to try. Hopefully I can sneak out here to my recording studio and get it recorded. And hopefully I can find somebody that will come on and let me interview them so that my workload is not so much on the week that I'm supposed to be having fun. So hopefully I hear back from some people that I sent feelers out to. And if you would like to, please send me an email. So let's go ahead and move on to what we're going to be talking about this episode. So last year at Hamvention, I just found out about this, which is really surprising to me. I thought it was actually this year that it happened, but after I was doing some research on it, I found out that it was actually last year, in 2016, that this was announced. Many of you know about the different modes of digital voice. You know, you have your D-Star, you have your System Fusion, you have your DMR, which are the three main digital voice modes in amateur radio. And you know that DMR is like really exploding. Well, here in Johnson County where I live at, System Fusion is the big thing. Right after the first System Fusion repeater came out, the DR1X, pretty much every repeater in the county went to that system. So we have like 7 repeaters or so in my county, and I believe all but one of them are System Fusion repeaters, and that one might have been upgraded since then. So it might be all of them. And out of those repeaters, I think there's about half of them or so that have the Wires X and are hooked to the internet and all that good stuff. But this week, while I was scrolling through my news feed or my RSS feeds that I read, I found that Yaesu has gone and what I thought was make a update, and they've released a DR-2X, and that repeater, you know, I thought, okay, well they've taken the DR1 and they've added a whole bunch of bells and whistles, and now the DR2 is, you know, bigger and better. It has all the functionality of the first one, but a whole lot more bells and whistles. Well, it doesn't, and that's what really confuses me. So the DR2, it has, as far as I can tell, it has every feature that the DR1 has, except for the Wires X capability. Now, it has the Wires X capability as far as if you have the Wires X nodes somewhere else and you are going through a link, a radio frequency link to the repeater. But the DR1 has the capability where you could plug the radio into the back of the repeater and it be on at the same location, all in one neat little packaged area, and all you need is internet. Well, the DR2 doesn't have it. And, I scratch my head. Yeezy, why did you do that? Why did you take out the Wires X feature? And I'm really baffled at it. And the only thing that I can figure out, okay, and that's because one of the features, the new features that's in the DR2 is called a multi-site repeater link. Okay, so what this is a feature where you can hook your repeater to any other DR2 repeater over any TCP/IP network, whether that is a internet connection or whether it's a mesh network, for Hamnet, for like Arden or something like that, or just maybe a direct feed, like an ISDN line or something like that. But that's the only reason I can think of. And I asked myself, is this a replacement for Wires X? But I really don't think it is, because even though Wires X is, basically does the same thing, it goes over the internet, and it has chat rooms and different channels and stuff like that. Well, the multi-site repeater link doesn't do that. It only goes to other System Fusion repeaters. Only the DR2 is the only one that has it, and it only works if you have a DR2, which is kind of confusing. And so I asked, I asked myself, why did you take out the Wires X to put in this thing? Yeah, it's a good feature, and if the DR2 was out 2 years ago when when my club bought ours, we probably would have went with the DR2 because of this feature, because we have two repeaters, one a 2-meter repeater and a 440 repeater, about 5 miles apart or so, on two different water towers, and we typically would have those two linked over a RF link. But if we had the DR2, we could do this over like an Arden node between the two, and it worked out really good because it's direct line of sight. It's like 5 miles, no biggie. So we probably would have went with the DR2, and I kind of wish they would have been out, because my club's repeater, we don't have the Wires X on ours. It's just the standard. We don't have internet connection at our site, so we don't have the Wires X. So we would have probably went with this, if nothing more than for this reason. Well, there is the other things that is very interesting about the DR2. One of them, which again kind of confuses me because I read different things about it on different websites and different brochures. It is called dual receive, dual transmit. And it says VHF UHF operations cross-band capable dual receive, dual transmit is what it's actually titled. Okay. Now I've read a lot of pages yesterday and today. I've read the official Yaesu System Fusion site. I read different forums and stuff like that about this, and I looked at all of the pamphlets that were handed out and that were given out over however long it was. And it kind of begs the question is, what is the purpose of this? Because to me, the dual receive, dual transmit, and the cross-band capable, that tells me that, and looking at the pictures of it, if you go to the show notes, I'll include a picture of the repeater. It looks to me like it has, you can set two sets of repeater pairs, so you could basically have two repeaters in one repeater box. It is kind of like what it looks like to me. So it would be kind of like us having both our 2-meter and our 440 repeater at one site in one repeater, in one box, one set of programming, one power supply, one everything, one cabinet, and all we need is separate antennas and separate cans. And then I read a post somewhere, I think it was on QRZ, somebody was talking about it, where it said that the dual frequencies can't receive at the same time. So then I asked myself, okay, so what's the purpose of it? And I read somewhere else that the second frequency can be a secondary input of the repeater, or used for command traffic, or used for emergency traffic, or the repeater owner can send the DTMF codes over that one and not interfere with the traffic that's going on the repeater. So I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of see that, but again, I really don't see the point. And then I read a little bit more, and it says that you can have a secondary input frequency to have a second set of traffic on there, and the control operator can set a separate downlink frequency for each uplink. So reading it, it still, to me, seems like you can have two repeater pairs, two totally separate repeater pairs on one repeater. And even the picture, it shows pair 1 and pair 2, or something like that. It has two separate things, two separate sets of programming, two separate sets of tones, two separate everything, even totally different displays, broken into twos where, A and B. But then I read the thing that says it can't be used at the same time. So I just don't get it. So here's my question to you. If any of y'all out there have any dealings with the DR-2X or the DR-2XE, please let me know about this, and I'll give you an update further later on. Send me an email, leave a comment on Facebook or something, and let me know how this actually works. What is this really used for? Because I'm just not sure. I just don't know. It's in a way, it's kind of confusing. But anyways, that's that. Another one of the improvements is a, quote, new and improved news station feature for easy sharing in voice of voice and text messaging. Okay, so with the System Fusion, you can send pictures, you can send text messages, you can record audio, if the repeater is set up that way to be able to do this. It's kind of like, store and forward type thing. Well, you can send it to have, you can have with the DR2, from my understanding, is that you can set your groups, say for your club, everybody in your club is a group. And if you want to send out a reminder of a net or a meeting or a work detail or something like that, you can save a message, whether it be text or audio. You can save this message, and anybody else can, or anybody in that group can retrieve that message whenever they want. Which, to me, is really neat, okay? Because here's the reason, okay? We have, on our repeaters, we have a recording that plays for the reminder of the nets and the meetings, and it plays for 2 hours prior to the net every half hour. So it'll do at 6 o'clock, 6:30. Well, starts at 6 o'clock. It'll do 6, 6:30, 7, and 7:30, and then 8 o'clock is when the net starts. And for the meeting, our meetings is on Sundays at 7, and we'll do it strategically throughout the day. We'll do it a couple times at lunchtime, we'll do it kind of mid-morning, mid-afternoon, stuff like that. But if, let's say, for example, that it's net night, and we have this recording going, and it's set for 6 to 6:30, 7, stuff like that. If I leave my house at, say, 6:05, I've already missed the 6 o'clock announcement. And it takes me 20 minutes to get wherever I'm going. So when I get there, shut off my car and shut off my radio, it's 6:25. So now I'm before the 6:30 announcement. So I've missed the 6 o'clock announcement, and I've missed the 6:30 announcement. So with this news station feature, the officers or the net control operator or whatever can go in there and say, okay, we have a net tonight at 7 p.m. And whenever you get on the radio or you turn on your radio, from my understanding how this works, your radio will register with the repeater the first time you key up, and you'll get a notification that there's a message for your group. And then you can download it then or listen to it then. So you can get it whenever. So I could, when I turn on my radio at 6:05 and I say, K5CLM mobile, it's going to register and it's going to say you have a message or something along those lines. So that to me seems really neat. And I think the one now has it, but I think there's a separate module that you have to buy. I'm not really sure. Okay, so the last new feature, I guess you could say, is a enhanced group monitor feature. Now, what this allows you to do, from my understanding, is allows you to set up a group of people, like your club members, for example, or say your Skywarn team or something like that. And it allows you to basically track where they are in reference to you, and also what their signal strength information is. So, from from my understanding, it's kind of like a built-in APRS. Now, this is built into each of the mobile radios and the handheld radios, where you have this feature as well. But somehow this is enhanced. Okay, but my question then goes to what exactly is how good is this feature? Okay, now I'm not saying this is bad or anything like that, but if you have, say, 20 people on your Skyward net, and this is the way that you're tracking them, every one of them has a System Fusion radio, and every one of them you can see the data to. You only see it in text format. You don't see it on a map like you would on APRS. You only see a directional bearing and distance. You don't see, on a map on what road they are. So it's kind of like more of a direction finding type thing than a actual tracking feature. So I don't know what exactly this is really as useful as it could be, I guess, is what I'm saying. Of course, then on top of that, since you only are seeing it on a text format, and you have 20 people, you have to scroll through each individual one to see the bearing and the distance and all that. So I still think that APRS is way better for this type of feature, but it has a new enhanced feature, so I thought I would mention it. So do with that as you will. So to wrap up this segment, like Jerry Springer says, my final thoughts on the subject, or time for my final thoughts, or whatever it was that he said at the end of his show. I see this repeater as being somewhat of an upgrade from the DR1, but and being that it has some more advanced features. Again, I don't understand why Yaesu decided to exclude the ability to use the WireX function directly at the repeater site. But in saying that, I really don't see that as a big deal. It's just as easy to have it at some remote location and going over the air to connect to it. I really don't see that as a big loss. Now, I could be wrong. Like I said, our repeater for our club doesn't have it, so I could be wrong. And yes, there probably is some good things about having you have your backup power. If the repeater's up, it's going to be up. If the internet connection is still good, so you don't have two separate locations being a fail point of it. So, again, I don't know why they took it off, but they did. I really don't know what they were thinking. Maybe it was just a mistake on their part. But, then again, it is their repeater system. So maybe they decided to remove the WireX part of it so they could have the multi-site repeater link. Maybe they're trying to replace the WireX thing to it. I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking. I also wish that rather than building a whole new repeater system or a whole new unit that you have to buy, that they would have just done it where all these new features could have been done through a firmware upgrade. Now, maybe there was some extra hardware that was included in this, and they couldn't do it as a firmware upgrade. But it would have been nice, because like I said, we just bought ours like 2 years ago, and I don't see us spending $2,000 on a repeater that has 2 more functions or 3 more functions that we would use. So I wish that they would have had it. They would have came out with it before when we bought the DR1. I wish they would have had the DR2, but they didn't, and we have the DR1. And like I said, I don't see us replacing it just for one extra feature that we can just use the WireX for. So there you have it. One thing that I do really need to mention, if you have a System Fusion radio now, if you have a handheld or if you have mobile or the HF radio for System Fusion, you will need to perform a firmware upgrade on your radio before you'll be able to access a DR2's extra functionality. Now, I'm pretty sure that you can probably do the FM side. You could probably talk on the digital side, but to get all the extra features, you probably will, or you will have to do the firmware upgrade. So, what are your thoughts on the new System Fusion repeater? Have y'all looked at it? Do you know somebody that has it? Do you know somebody that's actually dealt with it before? I would love to hear your feedback. So please leave it in the comments of the show notes or on Facebook. So let's take a quick break, and we're going to hear from West Mountain Radio. And make sure you listen to it very carefully, because there is a $50 off coupon that you can get on a purchase of a West Mountain Radio power check monitor. And I'm actually going to be doing a what's those things called, a review on it, because they actually sent me one and I have it sitting here right beside me. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back after these messages. Do you have an old-fashioned voltage or amp meter hooked to your station? Are you looking to find something that has more bells and whistles? Check out the West Mountain Radio Power Check. The Power Check has 8 display modes, including voltage, current flow in either direction, wattage, and amp hours, and will measure from 0 to 60 volts with 40 amps continuous load. It is accurate to within 10 millivolts and 10 milliamps. It has a backlit graphics LCD that will display data in digital, analog, and bar graph formats. You can even monitor your battery backup with a programmable gas gauge. The non-volatile memory stores more than 100,000 data points without power. That's nearly 2.5 months worth of data at 1 point per minute. It has a USB computer interface for configuration and data download, and you can program it to sound an alarm for overcurrent, over and under voltage, and amp hours. The software that comes with it allows you to program every aspect of the power check operation, such as data logging rate, display formats, and alarm conditions. You can display current, voltage, wattage, and amp hours in real time. It has an integrated charting software that automatically collects and displays data. All the data can be downloaded and stored for later analysis. If this sounds like something you would really like, make sure you head on over to everythinghamradio.com/WMR and check it out. And if you do, and enter the code EH-SUMMER at checkout, you will get $50 off of your purchase. Normally the power check runs $184.95. If you enter the coupon code EH-SUMMER, you get a $50 discount, and that comes to $134.95. You can't beat it. The offer expires September 30th, 2017, so make sure you head on over and get yours before the coupon expires. Also, don't forget to pick up your free USB port monitor with your purchase. Again, that's everythinghamradio.com/WMR for more information. All right, y'all, we are back. This episode's not going to be as long as normal. I'm probably going to do 2 segments. I got a couple other things I want to talk about, so I might break it up again. I don't know. That's kind of the thing about not having somebody to interview, is that you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, so to speak. I do actually have a layout, and I do have different things that I'm going to be talking about, but I don't know how fast I'm going to get through it. So, most of you have probably heard already that in August, actually on August the 21st, there will be the first full solar eclipse on American soil since 1991. It will be the first on the mainland U.S. since 1979, the year I was born, woohoo, and the first full sweep across the entire country since 1918. That's a long time, almost 100 years since the last time we had a full solar eclipse that goes from one side of the U.S. to the other. And it actually goes from Lake Washington across the prairie lands down to like Georgia, Georgia, South Carolina, something like that. We'll see the full 100% solar eclipse. Now, because of this, there are a bunch of things that are happening. And a bunch of them are special event stations, right? Why not take this, once in a lifetime opportunity and have a ham celebration of a special event, right? So there are a bunch of people that are going to do a QSO party, special event, whatever you want to call it. Okay, W9E, for example, plans to operate on 80, 40, and 20 meters, and perhaps other bands if conditions are right. They'll be working on CW, single sideband, digital modes. All amateur operators visiting the area for the eclipse are invited to visit. A copy of your license and photo ID are required to operate. Amateur radio license testing will also be offered during the event. While the W9E special event is underway, organizers are planning a joint exercise with Aries, Illinois District 11 Emergency Coordinator W. Bruce Talley, WA9APQ, hoping not only to assist local communications during the eclipse, but to coordinate with other Aries groups as the eclipse travels further from northwest to the southeast. He says, "Our plan is to be proactive and ready to respond as needed. Local volunteers and those from outside of the area are welcome to sign up on the database. We are especially interested if you are coming to the area to view the eclipse and know where you will be stationed." The Solar Eclipse QSO party is sponsored by HamSci, and it will take place on August 21st from 1400 hours to 2200 hours UTC time. As the QST article, the Solar Eclipse QSO Party Are You Ready explains, the objective is to flood the airways with contacts, all measured by automated receiving networks on the Reverse Beacon Network, PSK Reporter, and WSPRnet, WhisperNet. When those observations are combined with the logs from individual stations, the results will be one of the largest ionospheric experiments ever performed. So there's two of them. There's more. Hang on. Here we go. The South Dakota Black Hills Amateur Radio Club in South Dakota plans to operate the special event K0E on the day of the eclipse from 1500 to 1930 from Harrison, Nebraska. Operations will be on 20 meters from 14.260 to 14.280 and on VHF and UHF. The Near Zero Sunlight Great American Eclipse in 0S special event will take place August the 20th through the 22nd from 1400 to 2200 UTC in Crystal City, Missouri, sponsored by the Jefferson County Amateur Radio Club. Operations will be on or about 3.85, 7.25, and 14.3. The K7E will be on the air for the Great American Solar Eclipse 2017 special event, August 21st and 22nd from 1500 to 300 UTC from Laramie, Wyoming, near the path of the totality on or about 7.183 and 14.256 megahertz. The Northeast Wyoming Amateur Radio Association will field a special event W7S from historic downtown Gillette, Wyoming on August the 29th through the 21st. No, August the 19th through the 21st from 1200 hours to 600 hours UTC. They will be operating on or about 3.945, 7.265, and 14.265 megahertz, as well as on the 147.36 megahertz. Lincoln County Amateur Radio Club will operate a special event in 7E August the 20th through the 22nd from 1600 to 1900 from Newport, Oregon on or about 3.82, 7.2, 14.245, and 28.35. The total Solar Eclipse special event in 9E will be on the air August 21st from 1400 to 2000 hours from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. They will be operating from 7.18 to 7.19 megahertz. The Lewis and Clark Radio Club will operate a special event K9HAM from Godfrey, Illinois on August the 21st from 9 to 1700 hours on or about 7.225 and 14.28. In North Carolina, the Greater Gaston Amateur Radio Club will be on the air as in 4S from Lexington, South Carolina on the 21st from 0 hours to 1900 hours UTC. They will be operating on or about 7.18 and 3.895. The Southern Illinois University Amateur Radio Club will sponsor W9S August the 18th through the 22nd from 0 to 2359 UTC from the Carbondale, Illinois CW on 160 meters and all modes on 80 through 10. With a focus on the lower bands, satellite and 6 meter will also be possible. And let's see, what else we got? Old Virginia Hams Amateur Radio Club will sponsor W4E from Lexington, South Carolina on the 21st from 1500 to 2015 on or about 3.81, 7.23, and 14.263, as well as 146.52 simplex. Let's see. Next, we have N4C will be on the air from Franklin, North Carolina, August the 13th through the 26th from 4:01 to 3:59, with members from the Franklin Amateur Radio Club operating on or about 7.076, 7.18, 14.076, and 14.23. The AAORC Solar Eclipse Party will take place the 20th through the 21st from 1200 to 1600 from Mexico, Missouri. Sponsored by the Ardrain Emergency Communications Incorporated. Operations will be on 3.97, 3.98, 7.265, and 14.24. Of course, this is not the entire complete list. There is a link in the show notes for the ARRL special event calendar with additional total eclipse special event operations. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be having QSO parties. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be on the air, especially on the day of the eclipse on the 21st. So the airwaves are going to be hopping. And if you like to contest or you like to make those long distance communications or just talk on HF, or you like to contest or participate in QSO parties or whatever, this is a perfect time to do it. Commemorating this time, this event that hasn't happened in almost 100 years. So I'm going to be on the southern end of it. I think here in the DFW area of Texas, I believe I'm going to have like a 75% coverage. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's been a long time. I remember back in 91, I think it was 91, where we had a partial eclipse. And I remember being over at my uncle's house, and his youngest son, I believe maybe it's his oldest son, one of his sons. Oh, he only has one son. Yeah, he only has one son. His son was out in the yard taking pictures of it through a X-ray film. So that was, it's one of those things that it's funny, the things that you remember from way back when. I was in 91, I would have been about 12. So, I mean, it's funny the things that you remember from way back when. And it was exciting, It was something that you don't see very often. It was exciting, I don't remember actually, totally what it looks like. I don't even think I ever saw really the pictures. But it was still cool because, here it is, middle of the day, and it's, sun's beaming down, it's really bright out, and all of a sudden it gets really dark. From what I understand, with a total solar eclipse, you're going to go from, bright as day, midday sun, to like dusk level light for like an hour or something like that. Hour and a half, something like that. But anyways, it's going to be exciting. And, honestly, I don't remember if I work. That would really stink if I work, because I work in like a, 12 by 20 box that has like one window and I can see outside. So I can see it getting dark if I'm working, but I won't be able to see it. So hopefully I'm not working and I can enjoy it with my kiddos. I do see, I did see something interesting. This last week I went to Lowe's, and with me and my daughter, when I made a project that I'm going to tell you about here in just a minute. And while we were checking out, my daughter picked up these, what looked like 3D glasses. And when we walked by to go to a different aisle that had called us over, I looked at the thing and it says glasses to watch the solar eclipse. It's funny the things that people will capitalize on. It basically just has a pair of 3D glasses. I'm sure it was probably like polarized plastic lenses or something like that. But still, it's funny that people will, take advantage, I guess you could say, of the situation. And on the thinking about it, and I kind of wish I would have done something like that. I wish I could have made some glasses or had that idea and put it out there and, get in a big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or something like that and be able to just kind of rake in the cash on something that costs, 5 cents to make. But, yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing the eclipse. I'm looking forward to, sharing it with my kids. And, by that time, my kids will be mine. And they'll have my last name. And, yeah. So it's going to be fun. I don't think that my younger kiddos are going to remember it because I think they're probably too young to remember it. But maybe at least the oldest one will, or the oldest one definitely will. But hopefully the 3-year-old will as well. Maybe they'll look back on their life like I did and say, "Oh, I remember when this happened." So let me know what y'all plan on doing, or if y'all end up taking pictures of it. I would love for you to post it on my Facebook page or the group and show me pictures that you took of the solar eclipse that, wherever you are. And if it's if you live somewhere where there's the total eclipse, please, 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 please send me a picture. I would greatly appreciate it. That way I can show my kids and my wife and post it online for everybody to enjoy. So, that is it for that. We have one more thing. No, 2 more things. Cool. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Now, the next thing is something that is like, okay, I kind of understand, but I don't. So, what is that? What do you think it is? What do you think I'm thinking of? Of course, you don't know what I'm thinking, but I'm sure that you've probably seen this story and you'll know about it when we talk about it here in just a second. So hang around. So this next thing that we're going to be talking about comes from the ARRL news feed, and it comes from the FCC from there. And it's something that I asked myself, why is this question being asked? I can understand if, you're applying to, get a gun permit or get your gun, license to carry, or your EMT or your teacher's certificate, or something like that. I can understand, well, any job really. I understand why this question is being asked, but why is this question being asked to become a ham radio operator? So what is this question? And I'm sure that you've probably seen it. This is probably not new news for you. Maybe it is. I mean, this was on the 19th, so it'll be about a week old or so by the time this goes live. But the question is, are you a felon? And this is going to be on the revised 605 forms that you have to fill out in order to get your license, in order to renew your license, in order to change your address, or upgrade, or change your call sign, or anything. In some way, shape, or form, you have to fill out this form. Whether it's in person or online, you'll have to answer this question. And that's, are you a felon? And if you are a felon, then you have to send a explanation of the circumstances of what the charge is for. Now, you don't give it to the VEs that are giving you the test. You don't give it to them. All you do is fill out the 605 form and check yes or no. You have to check yes or no. If you don't check it, it's not going to go. They're just going to reject it right off the top of the bat. If you click no, or if you check no on it, your license will go through without any issues. If you select yes, then your application is going to be put into a separate file or a separate area of pending. And then it is your responsibility to go and say, send in writing what the felony was for, what the circumstances of it was, what became of it. Were you convicted of it? Were you not? Was it cleared? Was it expunged from your license or from your record? anything. If you've ever been charged with a felony or convicted of a felony, you will have to say yes, and you will have to explain the reasoning for it. I just don't get it. And the reasoning is that supposedly this rule, or this part of the rules, had been on the books for a long time, and somewhere down the road, this question was taken off of the 605 form. And, probably in reason of, why am I asking somebody that if they're a felony for a ham radio license? Why is it that in order to talk on the radio that you have to answer this question? To me, it just does not seem relevant. It just doesn't. Like I said, if you're applying for a gun license or you're getting a job or something like that, I totally understand. Because, if you're carrying a gun, you don't want a felon to do it because you can't. As a felon, a convicted felon, you cannot carry a weapon. When you're applying for a job, you're handling money, you are dealing with people, you're dealing with stock and stuff like that. I can understand it. If you have a felony for stealing, I don't want you working for me. Maybe that's a little bigamist of me, but, I work in law enforcement. I know what people are like. I know that most of the time, 95% of the time, a person that breaks the law, major laws, not somebody that gets a speeding ticket, of course, they tend to speed as well. But if you break into a house or you do drugs or whatnot, you're going to do it again. And unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. You may go to jail for 10, 15, 20 years or whatever you get out, and you do it again. It's just the way that it works. And it's sad. But why do you have to answer this question to get your ham radio license, to talk on the radio? What difference does it make that you are a felon to talk on the radio? I just don't get it. Now, I've seen some people talking about it online on different forums about this. Is it, and they asked the question, is it just for a new licensee? No, it's not. Like I said, anytime you upgrade, anytime you change your license, anytime you apply for a vanity call, anytime you renew your license, anytime you change your address, anytime that you do anything with your license, you will have to answer this question. So, if you weren't when you got it and you are now, you have to answer it, and you have to select yes. And, will this give them grounds to revoke or not give you a license? I don't know. Honestly, I out of all the reading I've done and the story that I read on the ARRL, it doesn't say anything about what would happen if you had it and you did everything you were supposed to. Would it affect your license? Would it, if you say, yes, I'm a felon, I broke into a house and stole some people's stuff, and I got sent away for 10 to 15, is that going to stop you from getting your license? I don't know. Is it going to be, if you did, stole a car, or, God forbid you murdered somebody, is it going to be a reason to not give you your ham license? What are you going to do? I mean, even if you are a murderer, what are you going to do on the radio? Yeah, you get extra, you get further access to people's information so you know where they live. Okay, I totally understand about that. And, that's why people will use a P.O. box for their license. Granted that people say, okay, well, I can find out where the registered address is for that P.O. box. Okay, yeah, I can totally understand that. And people say, yeah, that's why I don't put ham radio call sign plates on my car, because people can get my address from there. They can do a Google search for my call sign and find my address. Yeah, okay, I can see that. But you have to know what it is. You have to know what that combination of numbers and letters are in order to know where to look, right? I mean, I'm sitting here. I just did a Google search for my call sign. First thing that popped up was the ULS with my call sign. And, granted, it does say my name, my address, of course, it's a P.O. box, and all my information. The second thing that pops up is my website. So that's kind of cool. Third thing is like my Twitter. So, I can totally understand people's reasoning for not wanting to do different things. But again, the question comes, what difference does it make if you are a convicted felon to get your ham license? I don't get it. I just don't get it. So I asked you now, what is your thoughts on this? Should the reason for being a felon make it where you can't get your ham license? Or should they, as the FCC, be required to ask you that information? Well, they're the federal government, and it's supposedly a rule, and it has been for a long time, so they're just putting it back on there, not putting it on there new. But what's your thoughts? Should this be asked on your 605 form? Should it be asked, are you a convicted felon when you're upgrading or changing your call sign or getting a new license? Should that be asked? Let me know. Leave it in the show notes. Leave a comment in the show notes or on Facebook and let me know. Yeah. I just don't get it sometimes. But anyways, that's where we are right now. So, one more thing before we close for this episode. So the last thing comes from our fellow hams across the pond, and that's from the UK. Unfortunately, this is happening in the UK, but it can happen here in the US or anywhere else in the world. And, throughout my 22 years of being a ham now, people are always telling me, we need to use our frequencies. We need to use our frequencies. We need to use our frequencies because one day we might not have them. It's just like having a repeater that isn't being used. That frequency might be taken away from you and given to somebody else that will use it. If the repeater goes offline and has been offline for a long time, it may be given to somebody else. I can attest to that. I can attest to that. Our 2-meter repeater was a repeater that was a frequency that was assigned to another person, and they had a repeater on it. It went off the air and was off the air for about 1.5 years or so, and it was taken away from that person and given to us. So it happens. It does. But then on top of that, we're talking more than just a repeater. We're talking about frequencies. Now, in the UK, the telecoms regulator Ofcom is auctioning off former amateur radio spectrum. Yeah, the amateur radio operators over in the UK are losing access to 190 megahertz of former amateur radio spectrum in 2 bands, in the 2.3 gigahertz and 3.4 gigahertz, to make more room for mobile broadband service. Honestly, I don't know how much the microwave frequencies are used. Just this past week, the last episode of the Workbench podcast, last Tuesday, was dealing with this subject, dealing with microwave communications here in the U.S. They interviewed a gentleman from California that I believe is in the same club as George, and they talked all about microwave. And, the guy says, how much fun it is, and, how long distance you can get on a milliwatt or 100 milliwatts or whatever. But on top of that, he says, okay, well, you have to be pretty well line of sight, and, well, not necessarily line of sight, but, no real obstructions. And you have to have some other way to communicate with somebody that you're talking to in order to get it set up. Because by bumping your dish, you could totally lose the person. So what he was talking about is they have a 10 gigahertz and up contest, I believe he said in June. And they use the club that he belongs to, the microwave club that he belongs to, uses the Cactus Intertie repeater system to coordinate contacts on microwave. So they get 2 people on VHF UHF repeater system One of them says, okay, I'm here. One of them says, I'm there. And the first one will say, okay, well, I'm transmitting now. You tune your antenna. And that person will tune their antenna to get the best possible receiving angle or receiving direction on their dish. Then they'll say, okay, I'm done. Now you transmit a tone or you transmit and let me tune in my dish. And then once they're tuned together, they say, okay, we're ready. Let's have a contact. And they'll make a contact on 10 gigahertz, 20 gigahertz, whatever it is, on the microwave channel. To me, that seems like a lot of work for a contact. When I want to make a contact, I want to get on the radio and I'm going to call CQ. Or I want to tune around the bands listening to somebody calling CQ. I don't want to have to spend who knows how long pointing a dish in the right direction and hoping that I don't bump it or that somebody bumps it and I lose the person I'm talking to. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. And, I really don't because I've never used the microwave frequencies. I don't really know, I don't really know the thrill of it. I've never done it. I can kind of understand because, if you're making a contact of, say 500 miles on 100 milliwatts or 1 watt, yeah, that's super exciting. That's awesome. But if it takes 30 minutes to set up that communications, I don't see the point. But this goes for more than just the microwave frequencies. This is for any amateur radio frequency that we have at our disposal. If we don't use it, we're going to lose it. It's going to go to somebody else. And it has before. We used to have a portion, if I remember right, and I might be wrong here, but we used to have more of the, I want to say it was the 70 centimeters band. We used to have more. And it was taken away and given, UPS bought it. The UPS, the big brown trucks, they bought it. They bought that frequency for use for their radios to talk to their home base. We weren't using it, so we lost it. And I'm sure it'll probably happen again. And it's a sad day when it does, because that means that we as amateur radio operators don't have that frequency to use anymore. Now, I know that there's a lot of frequencies out there that we're secondary on, but we'll still lose that opportunity if we don't use the frequencies. So my challenge to you is to get out there. Get out there and do something that you don't normally do. If you only talk on your radio when you're driving to and from work, and I'm sitting here raising my hand because that's generally the only time that I'm on my radio, is when I'm in my car going to and from work. But if that's the only thing that you do, then we're not helping. Get out there, try different frequencies, try different modes, try different areas, try different things. That's what this hobby is all about. Trying new things, learning new things, doing something that you probably wouldn't do otherwise. And that's what this hobby is about. Getting out there and doing it. Ofcom is like I said, they're giving a portion to for mobile broadband service, and it's going to basically be a area of frequencies for the new next generation mobile data, which is referred to oftenly as 5G. We had the 4G, now we have the 3G, we have the Edge, now we're going to the 5G, and it's looking at, I want to see, I read it here somewhere. It's somewhere like around 6 gigahertz is what it is, and it's going to be awesome. If we get a new phone and it has the 5G on there, and I'm getting 100 megabytes down and 100 megabytes up from my cell phone, awesome. But do I want to lose frequencies that I can use for free on my amateur radio? Would I rather use my Wi-Fi router with an external antenna and talk further than any other Wi-Fi can that doesn't have an amateur radio license and be a secondary type communications to the internet if something goes wrong? Would I rather do that, or would I rather give it up to the cell phone companies to get faster internet on my cell phone? That won't work during disasters, by the way. That's the question I leave to you. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I got. I hope that y'all have enjoyed this episode. It's been a lot of me talking. Here I am over an hour, and I'm still going. But hopefully next week we'll be back with somebody to talk to. I am working on finding somebody. Like I said, I have like 2 or 3 people going out. And one more thing. I forgot to mention this earlier. If you have been on my Facebook page or on my Twitter feed here recently, you will see something new that I created, that I did. And that is a call sign plaque type, call sign or something like that. And I'll include a picture of it in the show notes of today's episode as well. But I'm working on perfecting it, getting it the way that I want it to, and I'm going to put it up on my swag store for y'all to buy if y'all are interested in it. And it can be totally customizable. The one that I have, it has my name and my call sign on it, and it has the radio tower that is in my Everything Ham Radio podcast logo. Is what I have, but I can put pretty much anything. So I will have it on the in the swag store pretty soon. I want to make another version of it before I actually put it up there. While the picture does look pretty nice, it didn't turn out the way that I want it to. So I want to get it perfect, or as close to perfect as I can, before I put it up for sale. But if this is something that might interest you, let me know. Let me know if you'd be interested in buying one. I would be glad to make you one for it. But anyways, I guess that's pretty much it. So again, you can find the show notes of today's episode at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/79. That's the number 79. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/everythinghamradio. You can also find the page at facebook.com/everythinghamradio. I am on YouTube at youtube.com/everythinghamradio. And last episode, I actually did a whole lot more than I normally do for my video. Normally it's just my logo that goes through the entire thing. I actually did some other stuff. So check that out and let me know what you think, what you thought about it. It was the episode 4 repeater book. And you can find that on my channel as well. And last but not least, I'm on Twitter at K5CLM, which is probably the easiest place, or that and Facebook are probably the easiest places to catch me at, to send me a message. So that's where I'm at. I'm also on other places, but I don't check them very often. I'm going to post on like Pinterest and Instagram and stuff like that. But Facebook and Twitter are probably my 2 most used things. So hit me up on there. Again, all the questions, make sure you answer those if you could. I would greatly appreciate it. The question of the week: what's your favorite digital voice mode? Is it System Fusion? Is it D-Star? Is it DMR? Is it All-Star? What is it? Also, what are your thoughts about the new DR2X repeater? What is your thoughts about the changes that are made and the upgrades that are made on it? Are you going to be participating in the QSO party? Where are you at? Take a picture of the solar eclipse where you are and post it on Facebook, in the Facebook group. Show everybody what a great photographer you are. And last but not least, should the felony question be asked on the Form 605? And what is it for? Why do you think it's for? Why should you ask? Why should they ask? And why should you have to answer? So, that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you all very much for listening to this episode, and I hope that you come back next week, where we hope to have somebody to talk to, and not just myself, talking to me, myself. So until next time, this is K5CLM, signing out. 73, y'all.